cactus and succulent growers, welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video I'm going to be giving my Opuntia humifusa cacti that I grown from seed back in 2016 a bit of a revamp and certainly a tidy up and also a bit of a fresh repot. So when it starts with the normal watering again in a month, they will look their full glory and be able to really start looking their best again. Now these are my Opuntia humifusas that I sown from seed in 2016, and they are very shriveled, but that's completely normal. Opuntia humifusa go very shriveled during the winter months, and then once you start to water them again, they really plump right back up again and they look completely different. So this is completely normal. So if you have these Opuntia humifusas, they hang over the pot and go very sort of wrinkly and floppy, and that's totally normal. But they will soon perk up again once I've given them a good couple of drinks, probably in the April time. What I'm going to be doing in this video is going to be taking these into the house, into my grow room, because it's way too cold to work out here at the moment, and going to give them a bit of a tidy up. As you can see, there's parts of black sooty mold on there, plants grown in here that shouldn't be in here, some old mother of thousands plants, so they're going to be pulled out, and lots of leaves in there from things, so they really do need a good revamping and a really good cleaning from the black sooty mold. I'm going to show you how I do that in this video. Once they're all cleaned up, then I'm going to give them a repot into fresh soil. They not particularly need repotting, but I want to freshen up the soil because it's been a couple of years or so since I repotted these, and then they've got a chance to sit for about a month before I resume the watering with them. So here we go. Let's get these into the house and give them a good old clean up. So here I am, I brought them up into my office, and these sort of very cold hardy Opuntia humifusas can take many degrees of frost, and I even know some growers who actually have these out in their garden here in Ireland, and they survive all the rain, the winter rain even. And quite proud that I've grown these from seed, little cuties. Now what I'm going to be doing, as I mentioned, this sort of black sooty mould here, I only really sort of notice it on Opuntias. And I did make, in fact I have made a video quite a few years ago on this black sooty mould on Opuntia and how you can remove it. I'm going to mention how I'm going to be removing it also in this video. And there's some reasons why this is. Some Opuntias, a little bit like some cacti such as Pharaoh cactus, sometimes produce this little sort of sticky, a little bit of a, it's hard to describe it, around the areoles, which are these where the little glochids come from here, and the spines, a bit of a stickiness. But these humifusas don't actually produce that, but these have been close to one of my other Opuntias that seems to drip this sort of sticky sort of honeydew type of resin from their little areoles, and I think that has also encouraged this black sooty mould as well. It's not harmful, it's not a fungus or mould that's going to kill a cactus, it's just unsightly. And if you want to know more on how to remove the black sooty mould on Opuntias, hopefully yours don't have it, but if they do, then do watch that video after this one. I'll link that video up above. So come on, it's time to give these little unruly looking guys a bit of a clean up. And as I say, they don't really need repotting. The roots are not coming through the bottom, but I want to just freshen up the soil because it's been a couple of years or so before I did repot them, and I just want to freshen up the soil. And this pot here I've actually got to use to protect my hands, because I don't particularly like to use gloves, especially with Opuntias. They have glochids and they're gonna get stuck in the gloves, so I like to just put one of these around the cactus when I sort of handle it. You'll see what I mean when I remove them from the pot. First of all, I'm going to try removing off all of this sticky mould here. And what I like to do is I like to use a bit of rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, spray some into a dish, and then I use a little brush to loosen it up. You can also use horticultural soap as well, or a little bit of dish soap if it's not heavily scented, and you can also use that to clean this sticky mould off. So let's get removing the ugly looking mould. So first of all, I'm going to spray some of the rubbing alcohol into this little dish. I'll just pull this back a little bit so you can see a bit better. And I'm going to lift this up here, and then literally with the rubbing alcohol, I think it's really good. It just helps to dissolve any of this black sooty mould, and cleans up the cactus. So one of these little brushes, this is a little lip brush, but you can use a little artist brush as well, and it's really good for cleaning up all of this dirty, ugly mould. Now that's them all cleaned up, as much as I can remove of the mould as possible. And now it's time to take them out of their pots and freshen them up. And this is where this pot is going to come in handy, because it means I don't have to touch the pads that are covered in glow kids. And those of you who know Opuntias, glow kids can be so annoying. So I'm going to literally put that over there so I don't have to touch it, and then squeeze this pot to remove it. Haha, happy days. So great, as you can see, quite a lot of roots there. Not overly root bound, but it's going to be good to pop this up into a bigger pot and fresh soil around it. Obviously you're going to have to remove all of these mother of 1,000 weeds off here and these out as well. And it's always good to check that there's no signs of root mealybugs in the pots as well, and that's all clear. So I'm gonna obviously give these pots a clean and a sterilise with some tiny dash of sterilising fluid in the water, and I can use them again for other plants. And I'm going to obviously repot these into some bigger pots, but first of all getting them out. So I'm going to remove these weeds. They can be composted. And all of these here, I've got plenty of mother of 1,000, so that's not a problem. There you go, here. And loosen up all of this here. And I'm going to do the same with the other ones. Always good as well to check over the root system to check that there's no signs of root mealybugs or anything like that. Looks pretty good. So it's just a case of removing very carefully just some of this older soil. Guys, just as I was turning it around, checking the plant over, look at that. That is mealybugs, mealybug nests there, and that the soil was up to here, and I've only turning the plant round I can notice it. So these aren't root mealybugs, these are actually normal mealybugs that are hiding underneath the neck of this Opuntia. And that's probably what is causing a lot of the black sooty mould, as well as I mentioned in the intro, this Opuntia humifusa has had mealybugs, and they are really mealybug magnets, Opuntias. So this is where the rubbing alcohol comes in really handy again to remove any of these annoying beasts. And obviously I've checked over the roots, they're fine. You can tell the difference between normal mealybug nests and root mealybugs. Root mealybugs have almost like sort of like a bluey white tint to them. They're also much tinier, and with the normal mealybugs they have these white woolly nests on the actual body of the plant. Sometimes they'll hide under the pads of Opuntias or at the baseline here. So happy to say they've all been removed with the rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to be, as I say, completely removing this soil around the top so there's no signs of any nests that could be sort of also hiding just under the neck of this plant. So it looks pretty good anyway. Now for the second one, again the same thing here, gently loosening up the pot. Oh, comes out like a little sandcastle. Look what I've just seen there, another mealybug nest. And what I do come the springtime, I start up with the neem oil and I thoroughly spray all of the plants in the polytunnel with the neem oil, usually towards the end of the day. So I would never use it in daytime when it's sunny, because neem oil can sometimes cause scarring on plants if you do it in the sunshine. I always prefer to do it in the evening time, But obviously I don't like to use the neem in the polytunnel during the winter months because I like to keep the plants as dry as possible, and neem oil does have a habit of staying a little bit damp for a couple of hours or so until it's dried. But it's neem oil I find is the most effective way at preventing pests. But the rubbing alcohol, I still go in the polytunnel and spray plants with that and dab them if I see any mealybugs. That's pretty much okay as well there. So it looked like the mealybugs were just under the pads here, typical where they like to hide. So here I'm going to use a little bit of a stick just to loosen up this old soil. Again, great root system on this. So I don't need to remove all the soil, obviously, just enough to loosen it up. So when it is potted up, it's going to pot in well. And I'm going to do this with all of these Opuntias and then show you when I'm all done. Woohoo, that's them all taken out the pots, checked over, and loosening up the roots from the old soil. And what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be taking this tray away, getting rid of this soil and sterilising the tray so there's no traces of any beasties on here at all, so it's all clean. And then I'm going to be then potting these little sweeties up. That's the tray all cleaned, and I've chosen 4 square pots because I love these square pots. And I'll show you the soil mix that I've made up here. And this is a well-draining cactus soil. What I've done, I've made a mix of John Innes No. 2. I use a brand by Clover, mixed with pumice and grit, and roughly around 3 equal parts, so it's very well draining. With cactus soil, when you make up your mix, you want to make sure that it's not clump. So when I go like that, for example, it's loose. And that loose soil means it's nice and aerated and free draining to pot up cacti. I put some of the soil in this little container here because it's easy to use. And I've actually sprinkled a tiny bit of diatomaceous earth in as well, just a little pinch of it in there, and just mixing it around now because that also helps prevent against root mealybugs. So it's not a necessity to add to the soil, but I thought I might as well add a little bit of it into it this time. And here we go. I'm going to show you repotting up the first one, then show you what it's like when they're all done. So the first little pot, I'll just pull the stand back a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And again, this is handy for the hands. I'll up by the roots like that. Now, what I do is put a bit of soil in at the bottom first. Like that, and then that's great. Once it's in, I can hold it okay then by the roots, and then I'm going to put then the soil around the sides. I love these square pots. They're not easy to get. We were lucky to find these in a fantastic little garden centre here in Belfast, or close to Belfast anyway, a place called Newton Ards called Walker's, and it's really lovely staff there, and they're great for all your gardening needs. So if you happen to live in Northern Ireland and you happen to pass into Newton Ards, do check out Walker's little garden centre there. Absolutely brilliant. And I think got a whole pot of these black pots, a whole bag of about 30 for about £2, that's all, and really good quality too. So the good thing is I can push this then with the blunt end of a spoon just to make sure we're going all around the sides. And as I say, once I do start to water these again, you'll be amazed how these shriveled Opuntia humifusas really perk back up again. It's natural for them to sort of hang limp over the side of the pots, and they do look like shriveled lettuce during the winter months. And if you actually want to see a video of before and after of me watering these Opuntia humifusas in the past, and you wouldn't believe how much they fatten up once they've been watered, then I'll link up above to a video on before and after results of watering these Opuntias. Do watch that video after this one. There you go, so just gently tap the sides as well to make sure all the soil has gone round. And what I like to do when I repot cacti, whether I'm doing it in the summer even as well or winter, then I always like to leave at least 10 days to 2 weeks before I start to water again. because although I haven't disturbed the roots much, I still have to disturb the roots when I repot, and I like to leave them at least 10 days before I start to water again. These are going back into the polytunnel anyway, and I won't be watering these until April, so no problem there. But even if I was doing this in the summer, I'll still leave it 10 days or more just to let the roots settle in. There we go, and that's not necessarily a necessity either. I know many growers who just pot the cacti water straight away in spring or summer, but this is just my methods, what I like to do. So that's the first one. I can put the same label in. Opuntia humifusa, seed sown March 2016. So there we go, that's the first one done. And I'm going to show you what they're like when they're all done. And now the very last one. And I'm being determined to get started early on a lot of my repottings this year, because I put so much off last year. Well, I didn't put it off by choice, I just was so busy. But I've made a start earlier this year. So I've got tons more need to repot. Many of them I can't really repot until the spring because they're too large to bring into the house as such, and I want to repot them probably outside in the yard. So it's going to be lots of repotting videos as well. So happy days. That's these all done. And they look much better now. Fresh soil on them. Put into nicer pots. I think I like these square pots. And then I'm going to be putting these then back into the polytunnel for the rest of the winter. Or I like to think we more or less in spring now, but a little bit way to go. And then I'll give them their first watering in the April, as I will with a lot of the cacti in the polytunnel. It's going to be great to see them all come back into, plump up and back into life again. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. And do you have this Opuntia humifusa in your collection? And if you do, let me know in the comments down below. I know that my wonderful friend Clyde Morris and my wonderful friend Ziggy also have this amazing Opuntia, and I do know many other growers do as well. So do check out all of the many other videos I have on my YouTube channel, lots of care videos on many different types of cacti succulents. Do subscribe if you haven't done already, and click the notification bell. And you can also follow me on Insta, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And check out my website for lots of blogs on there and growing tips on your cacti and succulents. desertplantsofAvalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic prickly pear kind of day.